Hi, my name's Gary, and I've been on the Sinclair Method for over 4.5 years now. I first heard about the Sinclair Method after having many years of difficulty trying to access different services in order to treat my own alcohol addiction. These had included Alcoholics Anonymous and had included Rational Recovery, and also I'd tried things like acupuncture and just all sorts of different talking therapies, and nothing seemed to work for me. So it was absolutely soul destroying for the longest time, because I was sort of locked into this cycle of just drinking and relapsing, and it was just a nightmare existence. And that took place for most of my adult life up until 4.5 years ago. Um, Whereupon what happened was that I'd come across references on the internet to something called the Sinclair Method, which I didn't really lend much credence to at the time. Um, I thought that it was just a load of bumf. But what happened was, after having read a little bit further and seeing loads of clinical studies backing this up, it had changed my mind a little bit. I became more interested, well, more willing to know more in any case. And what piqued my interest was that the Hollywood actress Claudia Christian was an advocate of this treatment. So one night, in a fit of desperation, I sent Claudia a message on her Facebook page, not really expecting to hear an answer from her. I mean, fucking hell, she's this Hollywood actress. Why the hell would she, get in touch with a mad Englishman like me? But she did. She did within the space of a couple of hours. She sent me the most lovely, encouraging message, and this really started my journey when it came to the Sinclair Method. She kept in touch with me, and I started going through different inquiries as to how I could acquire either nalmefene or naltrexone. Back at that time, nalmefene hadn't been approved on the NHS, so I had a real fight on my hands. Lots of slammed doors in my face, quite a bit of quite quite a bit of condescending behaviour, actually, from different medical professionals when I was trying to ask them for how I could access this, and it was awful. It really was. It really was. In the end, what I did was that I actually ordered a supply of naltrexone illegally from an online vendor in Canada. I'm not proud of that admission, but it's quite scandalous that you have to break the law in order to actually help yourself, or at least that was my logic at the time. In any case, the gambit worked out quite well, because I went on to the treatment, and it didn't it didn't seem like very much at first. I mean, I didn't notice much difference the first couple of times I took it. There was no thunderbolt. I could still sort of get drunk. I could still sort of feel this high from my drinking. But in any case, in for a penny, in for a pound, I'd after all spent well over 100 quid of my money actually buying this stuff. So I thought I'd give it a go. And within the course of 13 weeks, I got to a point where I just didn't crave alcohol anymore. I just wasn't even thinking about it like I was. I'd be sitting there watching the TV, and I would forget that I even had a can of my favourite Oblivion in front of me. It was that miraculous. I could not believe it. Anyway, so I reached a point where I decided to become abstinent thanks to this, because my craving was an all-time low, and I'd reached zilch. So I just kind of thought, well, at this point I'd prefer a cup of tea, actually, to tell you the truth. It just doesn't do that much for me. I'm indifferent to it, and I'm still indifferent to it. There's never an occasion where I think, ooh, I could just do with a can of Carlsberg Special Brew, or I could do with this or that. It just doesn't enter my mind. And the most incredible thing, and this is the thing which I wanted to talk about with this first YouTube video, is just my experience of becoming trigger proof through this treatment. Now, what do I mean by trigger proof? Well, I mean this. Back when I was addicted to alcohol, it seemed like I was constantly walking on eggshells around my own emotions so that I wouldn't trigger the urge to drink. So in terms of triggers, it's a little bit like that classic AA line, angry, lonely, hungry, angry, lonely, tired, halt. Anything that sort of got me angry in particular would have me back on the booze, back craving the booze. Anything that was that made me anxious, made me fearful, would sort of get me going for more booze. And that's what it was like. As I say, it was walking upon eggshells all the time, having to constantly, as they put it in AA, having to stuff my emotions. But now what I find is that 4.5 years on, I can have a day where I can be grumpy old me, where I can scream at my computer, where I can call my computer a stream of motherfuckers or whatever. I can have tantrums, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant having that freedom, because it's not something which I had before, and I've just got so much bandwidth up here now. I spend a lot of my time reading. I go to the gym. I'm quite active. I have quite a much more active social life now. I'm on the internet dating scene, even, much to my embarrassment, and it's great. It's great finding a new lease of life. But I think, just on a final note, and this is quite a somber one, the real test for a treatment like this is one of adversity, coming through adversity and showing that the method is still successful. And the example I'm going to give is quite a personal one. I mean, I'm kind of quite hesitant to mention this because I don't want to trade upon this horrific tragedy that's taken place in my family. But what happened was that over 1.5 years ago, my mum was murdered. Okay, she was the victim of a home invasion, homicide, and arson. And it made the news here in Hartlepool and within much of the UK. And the perpetrator denied his culpability, and it went to trial. Went to trial earlier on during this year in January, and it was just a complete nightmare. But I didn't drink. I didn't drink throughout all of it. The thought of drink didn't pop into my head. And that in itself is quite incredible, because it really does illustrate what I say about the fact that that you know, if you go through this method and if you do it correctly, you don't have the triggers that you used to have, or at least they're not there like they used to be. Because I don't even think about alcohol anymore. I mean, I can walk past some billboards with, you know, booze adverts on them, and it's just like meh. To me, it's nothing. It's nothing. In any case, I have run out of a little bit of steam here, because this is all that I just wanted to talk about, was just the trigger thing for this first interview, just because I'm interested in getting other TSMers feedback on this to find whether they've had the same thing. So I think my first video recording has gone alright. I might do a few other ones, seeing how this goes. Okay, well, thanks for listening, guys. Bye for now.